Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. We are all things life experience and education when it comes to being a notary public or a notary signing agent. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 occasions when a notary should add a loose leaf notarial certificate. This was one of the few things that was very confusing to me when I had documents when I did general notary work, or either sometimes some loan signings where I didn't know because the verbiage wasn't there. It wasn't enough room on the paper, and I was very confused on how I was supposed to do this. So I decided to do some research, and this is what I found. So I hope this information is helpful to you, fellow notaries and notary signing agents. Leave me a comment down below if this was helpful, and have you ever had the same issue I had? All right, let's go. You may ask, what is a notarial certificate? And a notarial certificate is a written statement signed and sealed by the notary public certifying the facts of a notarial act. The two most common notarial acts a notary will be asked to perform are administering an oath or taking acknowledgments. As we all know, those are the two we do, an acknowledgement or a jurat. First, so the first occasion you would add a loose leaf is when a document contains no certificate wording. So that means that the notaries completing a certificate for each notarization is almost universal. The wording or language in a notarial certificate officially records and describes the detail of the notarization. Now, here in Florida, it has to pertain certificate wording like uh, physical presence or online notarization. And that is because I live in Florida, which allows you to be a remote online notary and complete remote online notarizations. And because of that, if there's no certificate wording, then we have to add a loose leaf certificate to that. So that is the first instance when the document contains no certificate wording. So if it has no wording what's at all or no notarial verbiage, you then have to go ahead and add a loose leaf certificate. Second, when the certificate does not comply with state requirements. We, as notaries, we must ensure that the certificate complies with our state laws and add the correct certificate if it does not. Just like I mentioned for the first instance, in Florida, it has to have the uh, state requirements. So in my state, which is Florida, it has to have the venue, which is the county, and the state and the county, which I think is almost universal for any notary, for any state. But it also has to say, on this day and the date, uh, physical, personally appeared. And then it has the box where you can check where it has the physical presence or it has the um, online notarization. Uh, and then, of course, you check the box and put the person's name, and you state whether or not you finish filling out the notarial certificate, and then you sign and stamp. So therefore, those are my state requirements. It has to have the venue, it has to have the notary's name, it has to have it has to have the notary's printed name, it has to have the notary's when their commission expires, it has to have whether or not it was physical presence or online notarization. It has to have the signer's name. It has to have, of course, the notary signature, and of course, then a place where you can place your stamp. So, number two, when the certificate does not comply with state requirements, notaries must ensure the certificate complies with their state laws, and the correct certificate must be added if it is not. Number three, when there is no room for the notary seal. What this means is that a notary seal must be legible, and yet some documents provide insufficient space to affix a legible seal. If the seal will be placed over text or signatures in the document, it's time to complete and attach a loose leaf certificate. This applies for whether or not you're doing remote online notary or if you're doing in person notary. There are times where I have been completing a notarization on the ROM platform that I use, and there is not enough room. And I tell the signer, unfortunately, there's nowhere for me to put my um, seal, so I'm going to add a loose leaf certificate. When it comes to my general notary work, if the verbiage is already there, of course, I go ahead and based off of the verbiage that's on the original document, then I go ahead and add that loosely certificate. Now, if you get to the point where you have a general notary assignment or I've also encountered this when doing a remote online notarization, is that when you go to that particular client or that client uploads their document, there is no notarial verbiage. It is a hand or typewritten letter or whatever they need to get notarized. At that point, of course, you need to let them know, hey, ma'am or sir, we need to know what type of notarial loose leaf certificate I need to add. Then you will go into, notifying them in brief description what the difference between a jurat and an acknowledgement is. They will determine which one that they need. You will pull that out of your bag, or if you're online, then you would upload that to the document, and then you will go ahead and commit to filling that out and completing your notarization with that loose leaf certificate. So number 3 is when there is no room for the notary seal. Number 4 is when there are multiple signers appearing at different times, or you may have multiple signers appearing at the same time. There was one time where I had a general notary assignment, and on the document it only had room for two of the signer's information. It had two boxes where one box was here for me to place it, and it was enough room for my seal, but it had a second place for the second signer. But there were four signers for my uh, appointment. So what I had to do is, based off of the verbiage that was in the original document, I pulled out that loose leaf certificate, filled it out based off of the identifying information from the signers I had previously gotten. Once I filled out my journal, went ahead and filled out those loose leaf certificates, signed them, and stamped them. So when there are multiple signers appearing at the same or different times. So sometimes this means that when a document needs to be signed and notarized by more than one signer in different places at different times, a separate loose leaf certificate must be completed and added to the document because the signers appear separately. I have had this happen to myself in my loan signings. I've had where I had two split signings, where the one signer was in one state, and then the documents were sent to me by the signing company because the other spouse was here in where I am in Florida. So because of that, I had to add loose leaf certificates because in the original packet that they sent, those documents there was only one document for that particular signer. So I had to add multiple loose leaves during that appointment for my split signing. So number 4 is when there are multiple signers. Number 5 is when a notary makes a mistake. Changes or amendments to a notarial certificate may not be made after the notarization is complete or the signer and notary have left each other's presence. A notary who makes a mistake will be asked to correct the error by attaching a new certificate to the original document when the signer and notary meet again. Um, this has not happened to me. I do know of an instance where somebody stated that it did happen to them, where they did. an assignment and their signer came back and said, "Hey, you made a mistake. Can you fix it?" and just put the date from before, and the notary was like, "No, I can't do that. I have to completely fill this out again, and I have to put today's date, and I have to complete a whole new certificate for that." Um, so that notary did that. But as we know, that changes or amendments to a notarial certificate may not be made after the notarization is complete or the signer and notary have left each other's presence. So, like I say, if you make a mistake, this is you will be asked to correct it, and then you'll just add a loose leaf certificate to that one at that particular time when you're back in front of each other. You can do that. I will say that a lot of people ask, when you add a loose leaf certificate, should you staple it to the document that you have completed? I will say if it's for my loan signings, then no, I will not. If it's for my loan signings, no, I will not staple them. If it's for my general notary work, yes, I do staple them together, because what I do not want happening is that loose leaf certificate, they take it and use it in some other form of fashion with something else that they've signed and I didn't notarize it. So I do staple my loose leaf certificates to any of my general notary work, and I've never had anyone question, don't do that, or no, you're not supposed to do that. I've never had that. It To me, I believe that it is a personal preference on what you like and how you want that to happen. So if someone says don't staple it, fine. If they just want a paper clip, then you can paper clip it together. It is the same thing. I don't know if there's any states that say, hey, don't staple them together. Like I say, it could be different based off of your general notary work from when you do your loan signings. But for my loan signings, I do not staple them. For my general notary work, I do. So, once again, we're going to go back through the 5 occasions when you would add a loose leaf certificate. Number 5 is when a notary makes a mistake. Excuse me, let's go back to number 1. Number 1 is when the document contains no certificate wording. Number 2 is when the certificate does not comply with state requirements. Number 3 is when there is no room for the notary seal. Number 4 is when there are multiple signers appearing at the same or different times. And number 5, when a notary makes a mistake. I know, if you are a member of the NNA, you can get free uh, loose leaf certificates and they have very various different kinds. But if you are not a member of the NNA, here are some websites to print free notarial certificates. This is not a paid advertisement. These are just the ones that I found and I use on my own as well. These are significant to Florida. So if you're a Florida notary, these are the ones. I do know. Well, let me say this: for the acknowledgement.com, you this is for any state. You can go there. It's going to ask you what state you're in, and then you can pick the state, and then it's going to ask you what documents you're looking for. For the document authentication and notary services LLC, this, if I'm not mistaken, is just for Florida. So if you are a notary or notary signing agent and you need your free notarial certificates, try these 2 websites out if you're not a member of the NNA and you want free ones. So that is all I have for you today. Please leave a comment down below whether or not this video helped you, whether or not you have any of these scenarios and you've had to add a loose leaf certificate. I love hearing from you guys, and it helps me to know that these videos are helping you. So until next time, thank you and happy stamping and signing.